This is Jacqueline from Long Arming by Jacqueline, and we're going to do a quick video Top 5 Friday. This one is kind of special. It applies equally to those of you who are sewists and are making your own quilts, and those of you who are quilt customers who are working with your maker to design a custom quilt. So what are the top 5 design elements that you are going to want to think about and put together when you're designing your own quilts? The first one is theme, and I like to say this, the question you're going to ask yourself is, what is the vibe of the quilt? So you don't necessarily need to use quilting terms or color terms, but is it beachy? Is it casual? Is it formal? Is it graphic? So start to throw together a little sentence of words that captures for you the feeling that you want the quilt to have for yourself or for your giftee or wherever the quilt is going. What's going to go with the decor, if it's going to be in a specific room, what reflects the personality of the person. Are they vivacious and bold, or are they more subdued? Are you trying to give them sort of comfort and coziness? So start to think about some adjectives like that will set the theme for your quilt, and all your other design decisions will sort of be tested on how well they fit the vibe or not. So they're not good, bad, or indifferent, but are those design choices building the vibe or sort of detracting from the vibe? So the next one is unity. What is going to be the same throughout your quilt? So you could say, okay, I'm going to use a lot of different values, but I'm going to stick with cool colors because I like the cool color family. You could say, I'm going to use a lot of different colors, but I'm going to repeat the same block design across all the blocks. Or maybe you're not going to do that, but you're going to have a common background color and maybe accent color. So something makes all the different blocks of the quilt seem like they belong in the same quilt. So what is it that unifies that quilt and says, oh yeah, that block goes with this group? Contrast. So this is the opposite of unity. This is what makes the quilt visually interesting. So what are you going to change up from block to block, or maybe from the kind of detail portion of the block to the background? Where are you going to provide that difference that gives your eye something to enjoy, something to move across? So where are you finding the contrast in your quilt? And you say contrast, people think color, but you can also do it in changes of shape and varying the scale and size of things. There's other ways to create contrast than just color. Number 4 is style. So there are quite a few quilt patterns out there that are repeats, where each block is the same, and a lot of times it'll be like 6 by 7, exactly the same. And that's the type of quilt that lends itself very well to sort of sashing and cornerstones, because you have independent blocks that are repeating. And honestly, it could be a sampler where every block is a little bit different, but they're kind of the same size, and each one is a standalone motif, if you will. You could take that block and it makes sense looking at it just a block, and then you put it into the quilt and it sort of stands by itself. Then you have secondary patterns. That's a block that may not look very interesting on its own when you hold it apart, but when you put it into the quilt, one block sort of leads into the next and creates a bigger pattern. So anytime you have like a chaining block where you have like 9 patches going diagonally across the block, it's not that interesting of a block on its own, but when you line them up, you get an overall bigger pattern moving across the whole quilt. So are you trying to make a pattern within one block that's kind of by itself, or are you trying to make a pattern that's an interplay of all the blocks? That's secondary patterns. And then it could be a modern quilt. So typically you think of modern as having, things are less maybe regular, they are less on a grid, and they might be floating in a lot of background space where you'll have one big star 2 little stars, and a medium star, whereas a more traditional quilt would be 6 stars across, 7 stars down, very sort of regular and on a grid, and they were kind of aspiring more to that uniformity and that version of perfection. Whereas the modern quilts are a little more, let's use the term artsy-fartsy, where you're like, 1 star, scatter the stars, and a lot of background space. And you might be planning to use another technique in your quilt, like improv, or making it very scrappy with a lot of crumbs, or applique. So there's plenty, whole cloth, there's plenty of different techniques out there. So what is the style that you have in your mind that you're going to choose for this quilt? And the last one, saving the best for last, let's say, is the purpose of the quilt. So a lot of your design choices will vary if this quilt is going to be a wall hanging, or if this quilt is going to be something a toddler is going to suck on and barf on and be washed 1,000 times. So how that quilt is going to be used. So people ask whether flannel is a good backing for a quilt. Well, if it's a lap quilt and the back of the quilt is going to be against your skin, flannel's probably a good idea. If it is a bed quilt and the back of that quilt is never going to touch your skin, it's not so good of a choice. Would you invest in minky? If that minky is never, it's just going to add weight and sort of friction when you're trying to make the bed, but it's not going to give you the benefit of being cuddly against your skin in a bedspread or wall hanging or something like that. So who's going to use the quilt and how is it going to be used? And that might repeat the cycle. You might get to that step and say, oh, maybe that needs to inform my other choices. Maybe I need to revisit the theme. Maybe I need to revisit some of the fabrics that I chose, some of the techniques that I chose, because they're not necessarily a fit. And that goes into designing what batting you use, how much batting you use, what backing you use, the technique you use to bind it. All of those things kind of have an interplay between what you're trying to express with the quilt and how you expect it to be handled. So from the top, theme, unity, contrast, style, and purpose. So if you ask yourself those 5 questions, you should be able to test every piece of fabric, every potential block, the thousands of decisions we make when we're designing quilt that will sort of guide your choices so that the resulting quilt is what you want. It does what you want it to do, it expresses what you want to express, and it carries the theme, and ultimately makes you happy, because that's the whole purpose. All right, so happy Top 5 Friday. I hope you enjoyed this little mini tutorial, and let me know if you like these sort of in the more blog and pictures format, if you like the video posts. I'm really curious to know what works for everybody, what's interesting. Maybe you don't like things with sound, you don't want to click on that because you're at work. Maybe you don't want to read through my blah, 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 too many words blog posts. So have fun. Join us on the Scrap Nation. So it's Long Arming by Jacqueline on Facebook. You can subscribe and like our videos on the YouTube channel. And we're also on Instagram. It's massey.jc. So enjoy your weekend. Happy quilting and happy Top 5 Friday.